Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. If you've been here before, I'm always glad to have you here. If you're new to the channel, my name is Afefe. I am Afefe of Touch by Tarot. I am a certified tarot reader, read with oracles as well, and I'm also a former newspaper journalist. So that kind of helps you, get a sense of how I approach my readings in a spiritual context, but it very grounded, try to be pragmatic. And I'm also an ordained and initiated priestess in both pagan and African traditions. Have had a very interesting spiritual background, including way back in the day, in the Baptist church. So a lot of stuff, and that makes me think, a lot going on right now with Christian nationalists. Now that unfortunately, despite, gotta give them credit, the Dems stood up, you all. They held up the vote on Russell Vote for, what was it, 30 hours? Like, they pulled in a serious all-nighter. They answered the call. I know that many of us have been down their backs like, what are you all doing? But they stood up. And, after many phone calls, after the protests all around the country that we saw on the 5th, a couple of days ago, I'm taking this really early on Friday morning, the 7th. But the bottom line, we saw momentum. We heard voices, and energetically, I think it's been a really good week for all of us, and politically for a lot of Democratic congressional leaders. That said, they did everything they could, and still they didn't have the numbers to defeat the passage of Russell Vote, who Project 2025 architect and now chief budget officer. So here we go. That said, there is a ton, I'm sure many of you have seen it, of indications that spiritually, economically, politically, and otherwise, March is going to be a really, really pivotal month, you all. And I got, I've been doing my private readings and thinking about it and trying to tune in myself, like what is this going to be about? We know a couple of things, and this is what I'm going to read on. Are we headed for a government shutdown on March 14th is the deadline. Here's where it really pinged me, you all. Guess what else March 14th is? It is a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo of all signs. All right. So you've got those two things on that date coming together, right? Full moon lunar eclipse. Eclipses, for those of you who may not really be into astrology, eclipses, especially a lunar eclipse. So you think about the full moon. Most people have at least a concept of people's emotions and actions and things that can happen. Sometimes, more people get it, argumentative, or emotions get really heightened and spilled over during a full moon. Well, you talk about a lunar eclipse, full moon lunar eclipse. Take that energy that you typically think about a full moon and amp it times 10. All right. That's what we're looking at. This eclipse is coming in Virgo. What does Virgo very often indicate? It is about work, getting the work done, the work ethic of Virgo energy, earth sign, ruled by Mercury. It communications, all this going back to possible government shutdown on the 14th as well. Okay. Two things converging. So we've got that Virgo energy having to do with health and being of service. Very often those two things as well involved in Virgo energy. So we have currently a lot, as we see playing out, happening around now. The CDC is being targeted, right? We've had everything coming boom, 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 boom. All of these cuts and so far, thank goodness, the courts are stepping up, pressing pause on some of these outlandish and horrific things that Elon, I don't even want to say his name, Muskrat and Felon have been collaborating on. So the courts have stepped up, and so far the courts are holding. All right, but as we tip into March, And they've got to get that budget together. And from all accounts, in order for this to happen, you all, they're going to have to get some buy-in, because we got to remember, their margins are just razor thin. GOP margins are razor thin. So they're going to have to get some Democratic buy-in in order to get any kind of passage. They are already, many of you have heard, they're already trying to frame this, that if this doesn't happen and we have a government shutdown, you all know who to blame. It's those Democrats who, do what they do, right? I think there's going to be some messaging that gets out ahead of time, or I certainly hope so, where the Dems will anticipate that and begin to get the real messaging out there about why this is not happening, because their ultimate goal and the GOP's marching orders, as we all know, is to get that 2017 tax cut bill permanent, so that the corporate interests and the billionaires can continue to get more. What they're going to try and do, Spirit is saying, and we know this on a practical level, is they're trying to say, basically, you hear the term tax cuts, average working American, you hear tax cuts and you think, what's wrong with that? They do not understand how those tax cuts are structured. And AOC, for those of you who still have not seen her video, I put a link on my last video a couple of days ago to her Facebook. She did a 90-minute live on Facebook. And I understand that was also, she posted it on her AOC page on this platform, on YouTube. So if you haven't seen that video, look up AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She has a YouTube channel, and that video is on there as well. But she broke down, the truth of what these tax cuts really are about, and how they are designed so that in these upper income brackets, they save by the boatload. And as you get into the middle class and working class and poor, the tax brackets actually increase. And so, as we've all been hearing, we pay more, so we pay more taxes so that they get more in their pockets. All right, you all, I want to take a look and see, first of all, if I can lean in on this energy in March, around the 14th of March, and asking Spirit, are we in fact heading for a shutdown? And if we are, I want to see what the impact of that is going to be, because what I'm getting is talk what we saw this week, and the outrage and the people taking it to the streets, both congressional leaders in DC and around the country, grassroots. I think this was just a precursor to what we're going to see happening the latter half of March, if in fact the government shuts down. Because then you're talking about, seriously, services, SNAP benefits, possible delays in Social Security payments, depending on how long a shutdown would go on. I mean, it is going to truly tilt and rock the boat to the point that some things are going to happen. We have a 5 at the bottom of the deck. I've got a 5 of swords. So I feel like this is right up until the wire. I'm asking if we're actually going to shut down, but right up until the wire, the messaging around it, the deal making, because we know Felon, just calling him Felon today. Felon has got them by the short hairs, the GOP, Mike Johnson, etc. Thune in the Senate is just, checked out, and well, I can't really tell you, it all looks good to me. Okay. Spirit, will there be a shutdown? Is the government going to shut down in March? We have the 3 of Pentacles, trying to avoid it, working together collaboratively to try and avoid it. We've got the Queen of Cups. There's going to be some efforts, especially among, this makes me wonder if I'm looking at what's their name, the Republicans, Collins, Murkowski, those who are going to try and talk some doggone sense into them. But here comes the moon, you all. Here comes the moon right behind that Queen of Cups. So that's the time. Remember, full moon, lunar eclipse. Heightened emotions, some delusion involved. The Queen of Pentacles comes up. What are we doing with the money? How are we taking care of people? Health in particular. This is something having to do with severe impacts that I think we're already beginning to see. Spirit is saying even going into U.S. aid, right? And this dismantling of the USA program and pullback of federal workers around internationally, so that AIDS, tuberculosis, other health concerns, and of course, when something happens in one area of the globe, it can spread. We have all the queens are coming out. Now I have the Queen of Swords and the Ten of Cups, protecting families, wanting to protect families. Spirit, but I'm not seeing enough other than that moon. I expected to see a lot of major arcana energy coming up here. Spirit, if in fact we're looking at a government shutdown in March, please show me major arcana energy. 4 swords. King of Cups. Nine of Wands. They call it keys in this deck, but that's a 9 of Wands. At this point, I expected it to be a slam dunk. I'm being really honest with you. I expected this to be a slam dunk. Spirit was going to be like, heck yeah, like, duh, yes, that's what's about to happen. But it is looking like, based on the energies I'm getting right now, you all, it's looking like, but here's the Fool. Okay, I was asking for major arcana. Here's the Fool. Ruled by Uranus, change, sometimes abrupt and drastic change. That calls for something entirely new. Spirit, is this Fool coming up near the moon? Is the Fool coming up because the Democrats are going to require a really different version of the spending bill in order to sign on? Is it going to be about Democrats' power? Yeah. Now here come the major arcana. Temperance comes up. Temperance has to, perfect card. Thank you, Spirit. Because Temperance, for those of you not familiar with tarot, Temperance is a card that very often indicates 2 different polarities. Fire and ice, hot and cold, up and down, right? Very, very different things that somehow have to meet. And then there's an alchemy. There's a shift, an alchemy, Uranus, a shift, a change. So I think this is, if there is a passage in time, it is going to be because they see no other way out, and they're going to have to, between Temperance and that Fool, come in with that moon, they're going to have to play ball with the Democrats. They're going to have to make some adjustments. And whether that means, I'm getting a sense Dems are going to put back in there things like U.S. aid, things like making sure that there's funding. Head Start programs. We've already heard all this bluster, not just bluster, because that indicates like just talking and not backing it up, but like they have just gone off the deep end with trying to do everything everywhere all at once, right? Like the name of that movie. So Head Start programs are already, from what I understand, being targeted in certain districts. That's what the Democrats are going to be fighting for, you all. And I have confirmation, the 2 of Cups. So that's what's going to happen. There will be, I really like that card. Let me hold that up for you again. Somebody's going to ask me, let me just tell you now, this is a photographic deck, and it's like superimposed images. It's really kind of cool. It's called the Circle of Doors, for those of you who collect tarot decks or who read, all right? So, yes, there is, at this point, we know things can change and shift, but at this point, remember that full moon in Virgo gets it done. Virgo gets the job done. I think that there's this could be some more around the clock, sessions that are taking place, but somehow, some way, because we do know that they're going to need the some Democratic votes in order to get this budget passed. point blank. Because if they don't, this will send them teetering into complete chaos in terms of an uprising. People's nerves are already frayed. Look at what the country's been through in the month of January, from January 20th on. Like that 10 days or 11 days between, in January from the inauguration felt like 6 months, right? And here we are just starting February still, and it's feeling even more. It feels like all of this has already been going on for 6 years. So if this happens in March, it's going to be like like they're showing me torches. Like people's fuse are just going to absolutely go. All right. Last thing I want to look at real quickly, you all. We know that Netanyahu was here, and then Felon came out with the announcement about Gaza and wanting to turn Gaza into this, tropical paradise or Middle East paradise. I want to take a look and see how that's going to go, because we also know that the Arab nations, Saudi Arabia, even Egypt, Jordan, the UAE, they have come out forcefully and said, not happening. That is ethnic cleansing. Where are the Palestinians supposed to go? Palestinians themselves living in the midst of hunger. I mean, we see the images, we hear the stories. And yet they're saying, this is our home. We don't want to live. We're just trying to figure out how to rebuild. They're telling me to go to the Kipper deck. Spirit, well, how is Gaza going to play out? And meanwhile, you have Netanyahu already saying and making noises about continuing the war. Like, okay, we'll just keep on going. We only had a 6-week deal with Hamas. We only had a 6-week deal. I don't know how many weeks it's been already, but apparently Netanyahu, while he was here with Felon, said, all right, we'll keep the war going. It's like they're really trying to force the Palestinians away. All right, I have the North Node and South Node. They again talk about polarities, this push and pull, but I also feel like this is a deal that was struck between Felon and Netanyahu and Bibi. That is why, because he was so, remember him? He was so smug. He was so pleased with himself. Like he got what he wanted. The fact that Felon has been trying to sell this, that, hey, we can help this happen, and we don't have to dedicate military troops, and we don't have to use U.S. tax dollars. Excuse us? Like we got stupid written over our foreheads? Just, wow. Okay. So North and South Node. Manifestation. That's their goal, to manifest. They are in lockstep about making this happen, you all. Bibi and Felon. They are in lockstep about making this happen and making this grab for the Gaza Strip. Felon is trying to come, nice guy. Felon is trying to come across like, this is all going to be good. The Palestinians are going to go someplace even better. They're going to like it where they are. We are going to, continue to demonstrate our support for Israel. Gotta breathe. I'm always talking about it. I gotta do it, but here we go. There's bondage. I knew it. There's bondage. Meaning, this is where things are going to get tied up. They cannot. Who's going to do the rebuilding? Where's the money going to come from? Where are the people going to go? If there's a forceful displacement, who's in charge of that? Is the U.S. going to send troops? You see what I'm saying? And for that, once again, boomerangs back, because none of that was a part of the plan, and why people even skeptical people who cast their votes that way. There's a love offer. That's some of the deal for the house. The rebuilding there. The two of them sat there, Bibi and Felon. They sat there and hatched an agreement between the two of them that was mutually beneficial for how they could both continue their power. And is this, did they discuss Felon going there, should he, because, he's got to go, voodoo. In the context of the card and this reading that we're doing, you all, if I need to go there and live on that strip, felon, once, if it gets to a point where I need to get up out of here, because either, I've gone too far, there's a revolt, they get rid of me, I get it somehow, I do get impeached, right? I got to have somewhere to go, and there's an achievement. They're not going to let go of this anytime soon, you all. That's the general energy that I'm seeing here. They're going to try and figure out a way. They are locked in. And this goes back to Jared Kushner having that vision, saying it out his mouth, that this is what he saw a potential for the Gaza Strip, 25 miles, on the Mediterranean Sea, beachfront, blah, blah, blah. So all this has been in motion for a while. I think that's why Spirit is coming with an achievement card. This has been in motion for a while. They're very locked in on making this happen one way or another. So don't be surprised if the ceasefire breaks down. Abandoning the ceasefire, and the Palestinians feeling abandoned. I want to pull a couple of tarot and then I'll close it out for today. So, Gaza, they're going for it. And this is going to amp up tensions because, again, the Middle East has said, we can't take them. Egypt and Jordan have both said, we're already got our economic situation going on. We can't absorb, 2 million or more people? We have the Princess of Wands trying to figure out a way to make it happen. And the Ace of Cups trying to sell it to people. What I think this is saying, you all, they're going to try and continue to push along these lines. They are locked in. That's why they've destroyed, basically taken it down to rubble, right? And knowing that the Palestinian people don't have the means to rebuild themselves. They're going to need help one way or another. And I think it's just pushing them further and further into a position of, if you work with us, I think there's going to be this Princess of Wands. They're going to start to sell them the idea, which they've already said and nobody's buying it because it's not true. If you do this, we'll build it, we'll make it pretty, and then you can come back home, knowing that that's never the intention. And if that's part of what gets people, the Palestinians, to one way or another find someplace else to go, thinking that it would be temporary, that's going to be their next game move. But because what that's going to do is cause so much friction and tension with the Arab nations and with the Middle East in general. Mind you, we already know that in general the global community is not very happy with the U.S. right now, at least in terms of its quote unquote leadership. So yeah, we're in for some really interesting times with that, you all. Keep your prayers up, keep your head on straight. Really, last thing I promise. Now I'm going to shush it for today. Think about this as well. Really excited to meet with you all. Tonight will be my first session of spiritual politics. It's sold out, but I am planning to do it on the first Friday of every month. So please, if you didn't get in this month, I will talk about it and post it again. So you can do it the March the 7th will be, I think that's a Friday. We'll do it there. So thank you so much. Really excited to chop it up with you all this evening. Those of you who signed up. But there's going to be, I think, more people cognizant of owning their own emotional state. For those of you who saw yesterday, the confrontation between Harry Dunn, former Capitol Police officer who was a part of the Jan 6 insurrection, confronted by one of those Jan 6ers who were pardoned by felon. So apparently there was a service at the Capitol yesterday for one of the Capitol officers on Jan 6 who died died of a stroke, I think they said 2 days later, as a result of stress and injuries that he sustained. And so Harry Dunn went to the service, to the memorial, to commemorate his fellow officer, right? This jerk, Jan Sixer, who had been sentenced to 42 months in prison but got pardoned, one of those that was released on this pardon, stood outside on the side, right outside of this memorial, waited in, and had his little camera people behind him with his mic for no other reason than to try and provoke people. So sure enough, he apparently called over Harry Dunn on the pretext of asking for some directions or something, and there he went, right? And Harry Dunn, it's on the web. You can just Google Harry Dunn, or Jan 6 Harry Dunn, and you're gonna see it. Really quick clip, but the point is, with this guy, first of all, you imagine the trauma triggering that he had already been under, and to go there and try and pay his respects, trying to leave, minding his own business, being confronted by this Jan Sixer who had no other desire but to try and provoke him to what? To violence or something. Who knows what the end game was. But Harry Dunn, who, if you see them, this little punk was like, 3 feet tall, and Harry's this great big hulking black guy. And he when he realized what was happening, because they were first face to face, he started backing himself up and just slowly began to walk away. Yeah, he cussed him out a little bit, which he should have. But here's also what's interesting, and I've got this on my radar. Spirit is like, pay attention. These Jan Sixers that got pardoned. The guy said there was a woman, as Harry Dunn walked away, there was a woman on the sidelines, and she was like, dude, you are so out of line right now. And he basically told her, shut up, mind your, paraphrasing, shut up, mind your business, pay your taxes because we deserve reparations. Pay attention to that. I'm wondering if we're going to see more of the J6ers who were pardoned begin to claim some form of injustice, if Pam Bondi, in fact, is going to be given some marching orders by felon to make some of that happen, to alleviate and perhaps give them some money. Although, we'll see what happens with that. All right, you all. Have a good one. Breathe deep. Chin up. We got this. We're in it now. We got to go for the long haul, you all. We're not giving up our democracy. We're not giving up our freedom. We're going to do whatever we got to do. I'm wearing my shirt today, honor of Black History Month, etc. Just trying to do whatever I can do symbolically and otherwise to keep myself in check. I hope these readings are helpful to you. I really do appreciate you being here. And I'll talk to you real, real soon, okay? Be good. Bye. Pushing the wrong button. Look, got my little flicker. Got